In this video, I'm going to go through the best footage I filmed in the UK in 2024. The first highlight of the year was my first ever white-tailed sea eagles. And although the light was pretty poor that day, I saw a pair chase off and even battle with a juvenile. On an early winter trip to Abberton Reservoir, I managed to film a white Stalk as it flew over. Got my best ever footage and views of Stalk and Goldeneye, along with some slow motion diving tufted ducks and hunting goosanders. As spring arrived, I finally managed to film common frogs, and even managed to get a male frog calling. Even if the weather was a bit wet. I've been filming Beeflies for a few years, but this spring was special, as I got some close-ups and improved shots of them feeding, doing the whole twerking bum rubbing, for them to fling the eggs into solitary bee nests, which I also managed to capture. But best of all, some of the footage was used, along with my solitary bee footage, in a feature on Spring Watch. Next up is a national rarity, only a bus ride away. The Essex Wildlife Trust kindly gave me permission to look for the distinguished jumping spider again with my good friend Tom. He managed to find 6 on our first visit. And on later visits I managed to find my own for the first time. Such a privilege to film a species found on only 2 sites in the UK. My friend Nick was kind enough to drive us to Warnham Nature Reserve, where there was the most cooperative great white egret I've ever seen. It landed right in front of the hide, and I got some nice footage of it as it fished in slow motion. I eventually managed to get to my friend Phil's hide, this time thanks to my friends Ben and Mike. I started off with some great spotted woodpecker action, as Ben and Mike photographed the owls. I filmed the little owls as the sun was setting, so the light wasn't great. But as I hoped, the chicks came out to be fed. And at one point I had all 3 on the branch together. I even got one screeching for food at the end of the evening. On a trip to Hockley Woods with my friend Emma, we went looking for a rare species, but instead found a rarely seen species, the purple hairstreak, a species which typically stays up high in the oak trees. It appeared to be feeding on the honeydew on the leaves, before basking in the sun. Another bonus was these wood ants farming aphids, something I wanted to film for a project for quite a while. But in the end we did find our target species, the Heath Artillery. I still need to go through all the footage, but here's a couple of clips. One of it taking off from a flower. I even managed to get some close-ups with my probe lens. The lesser emperor dragonflies returned to my local site, but they are not the easiest species to film or photograph. I did however manage to get some decent footage of a tandem egg-laying pair, which ended up having a bit of a disagreement. I spotted this damselfly nymph at the surface and managed to set up a time lapse of it emerging. At one point I thought it was going to get eaten by a carp, but it didn't, which meant it was much luckier than the dragonflies in the next highlight. When at Raynham trying out my new zoom lens, a little egret switched from catching fish to hunting the abundant dragonflies. Not the easiest thing to follow with a long lens, but I managed to get some footage of it in the end. While they were not eating them, they certainly stole a show from the rare damselflies I went to see on Canvey, because as I got off the train at Benfleet Station, I saw the creek was full of birds fishing and feeding. Summer plumage black-tailed godwits, fishing grey herons, little egrets chasing fish, and a cormorant swimming after them. Plus a bonus wimbrel too. My friend Emma drove us again to Thursley Common to look for raft spiders, but the highlight ended up being this egg-laying Gring Butterfly. I was chuffed to get footage of the egg being laid, close enough to see it, and all in slow motion. Along with raft spiders and tiger beetles, hornet robberflies are one of my favourite insects, and I'm borderline obsessed with them. I've travelled all over southeast England to photograph and see them, so it was amazing and a bit embarrassing to get my best ever views and footage so close to my home this summer. In walking distance from my house, I got them feeding, a male wrestling a female, footage of mating pairs, I even got close-ups with my probe lens. But I got a few days worth of footage and I still need to edit and find the best shots. But I did get some bonus shots of firebugs amongst the Robberfly footage too. On another adventure with my friend Emma, we visited the wall lizard colony in Kent, where I got my best ever footage, including the lizards licking each other. I spent many hours at Minsmere in the Isle of Meerhyde waiting for bitterness to show, with very little to show for it. But this one at the Lee Valley, on a trip with my friend Nick, was on show as soon as we walked in the hide. I got some nice footage of it too. And I'll finish with a trip from only a few weeks ago. Some of you will have seen this video, but it was fab to see the Great Northern Diver, as it not only came close enough to be filmed, but I also got this sequence of it eating a perch. Well, I hope you agree. Despite all the things that happened this year, I've managed to get some good video footage. First of all, I just want to say a big thank you to Ben and Mike, Emma, Nick, Graham and everyone else that's helped me out this year. And a big thanks to all of you for watching, subscribing, liking. I've had more engagement and views than I've ever had in the last year. And just want to wish you all a happy new year. See you in 2024.